Hi everybody, Sharon here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another episode of my 2020 garden. So I hope that this video finds you all safe and healthy and that you're managing to get along in this weird time that we're going through. Fortunately, I have not been sick, but I am still working. So I don't have a whole lot more time on my hands, a little bit more time, because I don't have to go to church and I don't have all the church meetings and I don't have to go to my workout class and that kind of stuff. So I have a little more time on my evenings. Unfortunately, it's either been raining or really cold during the evening, so I haven't been able to get out and do much. We are still getting nights here in the teens, and so I can't plant anything outside. Our highs today is like 29, 30 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. But this week there is hope because it's supposed to be in the 50s. So I'm looking forward to that. So today what I thought I'd do is kind of take you around the garden and show you what survived the winter. Now I am in Wisconsin Zone 5A and we get some pretty harsh winters around here, but this past winter was fairly mild as compared to most of our winters. But before I do that, actually, why don't I take you downstairs and I want to show you how things are progressing from the seeds that I planted last week. I want to start my video down here in my grow room to show you the seeds that I planted in my last video. If you missed that video, I will put an eye up here and also a link down in the description box below. But here are the seeds that I planted. These are mostly herbs. The only ones that are a little leggy are these dill. But that's okay, I can replant those. But if you can see those, even my ground cherries have come up. Looks like I got a weed in there somehow. Don't ask me how that got in there. These here are jalapeno peppers. This is chicory. Chicory is like one of my favorite weeds. Yeah, I'm growing weeds. In the back there, flat leaf parsley, hyssop over here. White sage, I've got a couple that have come up. So they're doing okay. They're a little leggier than I would like, but I ended up doubling the lights. So I only had one light, and I ended up putting 2 shop lights over them. These are both, well, this one here is an LED, and this one is a standard fluorescent shop light. And then, if you're curious, under here, I have to pick my lettuce. I'm making a salad tomorrow, so I've got these growing hydroponically here and in the back. These lettuce are just, I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that? Beautiful with the red on them. Aren't they beautiful? So I've got that growing. And then over here is my tomatoes and basil that I have growing. This basil does really well hydroponically. It drinks a lot of water in the beginning and then it slows down. And then here I have tomatoes. I can't really get that far away to show you, but I do have, they are fruiting. And I basically come in here every morning and shake them. Just shake them like this, and that's how you get your flowers to be pollinated, because tomatoes are wind pollinated. There's probably some technical term for that, but I don't know what it is. So they're doing pretty well. They drink a lot of water. There's a lot of them in here, but they're all the dwarf size tomatoes. So they're only going to get 12 to 18 inches tall at most. Then on my grow rack here, I've got my onions. You can see They are all growing. This is an LED light. And they're growing so fast, I have to raise this light every day. They're all coming up. The only ones that aren't coming up here, what are these in the back? White Spanish onions. Not getting quite as many of those. I still have more onions than I will ever need. So as you can see, everything seems to be growing. I've got a couple things that haven't germinated, but I'm not worried about them because some of those seeds are things that are, you know, 10 days germination, sometimes 14, sometimes 21 days germination, depending on the conditions. So I'm not really worried about those at all. I always have more than enough plants, so I tend to not panic about that kind of stuff. You know, in worst case scenario, if my thyme doesn't germinate, I'll just go to the store and buy some thyme. I mean, it's really that simple. I find that it's really just not worth it to get so stressed out about that stuff because, you know, at least where I live, it's pretty easy. There are a lot of nurseries around here. I can go and get stuff. Last weekend I spent the time and I went around and cleaned up my raised beds. And I noticed something. Well, first of all, take a big deep sniff. This is sage. Oh, it smells so good. Really smells good. First of all, this yarrow is starting to come up already. That's promising, isn't it? To see a little green in the garden. What are you smelling there, Macy? What are you smelling? So yeah, this is stuff I planted last year. The other stuff I planted the year before. So all of this is coming up. Even in the teens that we've been having overnight. What else are you finding in there, Macy? And then here, this is chives. That is coming back up again. So and these beds are, let's see, I can get down that far and then that's ice. So these are growing. How do these grow with frozen roots? Someone tell me that. Over here I've got my winter sowing stuff. And of course nothing is germinated yet. I don't expect it to. But can you see the condensation on here? That's how you know that your winter sowing is moist enough. If you don't have any condensation, then I would water them. But as long as you have condensation, everything is watered just fine. Like this one's got a little bit here. Not that much over here. So I don't see any little green heads poking through, which I do not expect to. But they're plenty watered. We had an inch of rain on Wednesday and Thursday. One of the things I was excited about when I was cleaning out my raised beds is I noticed that my thyme here, when I snipped off the old stems, they were green on the inside. Now this raised bed, it's up 2 feet, so it's 2 12-inch boards. And in my zone, it's just the ground gets too cold. So stuff usually doesn't come back the next year. I usually have to replant thyme and oregano. Actually, this is oregano. This isn't thyme. The thyme's over there. But like I left this in to see if it'll come back. I don't see. I know oregano is hardier than thyme. Here. See that? It's coming back. I'm going to leave that covered up because it's supposed to get down in the teens. Here it is again. That is surprising. We only had one day where we were below zero during the night. And that is very weird for us. I mean, normally we get weeks and weeks where it's, you know, 20 below zero at night, 25 degrees below zero with minus 50 wind chill and all that. We didn't get that at all this year. So I'm really happy about that. Here's another thing I noticed. So this pot has hyssop in it. And you can see this is coming back. I trimmed it back, but I didn't want to trim it back too much. And this is just in a pot. So this survived the winter too in a pot, which I'm really surprised. One last thing I noticed, when I cut these, there was green on the inside. We've since had some cold nights, so it has browned up on the ends here. This is rosemary, and rosemary usually doesn't do very good in this zone. But I left it out here just to see. And it is coming back. I think this will come back. We'll see. Time will tell. So in this pot was bee balm and some other stuff. And we'll see if this comes back too. Promising. Normally one of my first herbs to come up in the spring is my lovage, and I don't see anything coming up out of that right now, but it's always kind of fun to see a little green in the garden, especially this time of year. So I still had to roll my bunching onions in my garden. I just left them in my garden. In this bed, I can get my whole finger in, so it is not frozen. So I'm just going to let them grow, see what happens. It is always fun to kind of walk around the garden and see what's growing and what's not growing, especially this time of year when we are all just craving green, or at least those of us who live here. And I'm really excited to see some of those perennials coming back, especially those that don't normally survive here. I think that's really exciting. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this tour. And if you like what you saw here, don't forget to click on that subscribe button or give me a thumbs up. And until next time, happy gardening, everybody. Bye-bye.